session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will allow our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make the decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform the city to make it a better place to live and work. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
And I think it's fitting with the role, all the meetings and special meetings that we've had, we end with Councilor Milanazzo right at the end. Councilor Milanazzo.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Mayor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Councilor Lindsay.
Here.
Councilor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Armand Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting by Councilor Milanazzo, seconded by Councilor Lindsay. All in favor signify by saying aye. The minutes have been accepted and placed on file. I have communications that I will read, and we'll accept those communications. The first is a letter from the City Clerk to Election Commission, accept and place on file. A letter from the Election Commission informing Councilor Joseph Mendonça, next qualified candidate. 3, the letter from the Election Commission, Joseph Mendonça, accept those communications and place them on file by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Those communications have been accepted and placed on file. I will now entertain a motion by Councilor Milanazzo, seconded by Councilor Armand Mercia, to elect Joseph Mendonça to the City Council. Roll call.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Lindsay.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armand Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
Joseph Mendonça, if you please come through that gateway, and the City Clerk, Richard Johnson, will swear you in as a Lowell City Council, and congratulations.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me.
I, Joe Mendonça,
Do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent upon me
all the duties incumbent upon me
as a city councilor for the city of Lowell,
as a city councilor for the city of Lowell,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
rules and regulations of the city council,
the rules and regulations of the city council,
the ordinances of the city of Lowell,
the ordinances of the city of Lowell,
and the Constitution of the United States.
and the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Councilor Mendonça, you worked extremely hard. You put on a tremendous campaign. I know you walked through the city more than once, and the people have chosen you to represent them for the next 2 years. And welcome to this esteemed elected panel. Joe, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. But I guess we got work to do, so let's finish it up.
Any comments from any councilors? If not, we'll move on with the agenda. Communications from City Manager Lynch, response to councilor motions, requests. Are there any requests? If none, then accept those communications and place them on file by Counsel Mendonça, seconded by Counsel Elliott. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Those communications have been accepted and placed on file.
Mayor,
Counsel Elliott.
this isn't a response to the manager's agenda or communications, but it is to the city auditor. She just provided us with a document tonight following last week's meeting relative to the unreserved fund balance of free cash. I wonder if I could just ask her a quick question.
Sure.
We just got it on our desk. Madam Solicitor, can you just give us a brief explanation on the general fund free cash deficit? I know you're cited here, but...
Sure. Basically, there's a few issues that came into play, as we all know. The Parks and Recreation grant, it was basically reduced after we'd started the construction. So
Right.
it was too late to stop construction. So that's one piece of the deficit. Mid-year cuts of the $3 million in the local aid, which we absorbed over the course of the year, amazingly so. And the snow and ice deficit was almost $3 million, but we had all sorts of transfers at the end of the year, so it got to the point where we covered all but $600,000. So because of that, we had a general fund negative free cash balance of $490,000.
If we didn't make those transfers, Madam Solicitor, for the snow and ice, what would have been the result? Number one, you'd have to raise it on the recap,
Exactly.
which would have been a higher tax rate.
Correct. It would have fallen into 2010.
Okay. Surpluses in both water and wastewater. The wastewater enterprise fund there's a significant balance of $8.5 million. Is that surplus as a result of debt that we haven't paid or debt that is coming online? What will that $8.5 million be?
It'll be used for
going
debt
to?
as we go along.
For debt?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 'Cause
Basically.
It's truly operating as an enterprise fund?
Correct.
All the loans that we take out, it's not in the general fund, taxpayers aren't paying for it, it's the ratepayers?
Correct.
Okay. So I know during the budget year, there was discussion about that wastewater fund. At some point, is it going to run into a deficit?
I will defer to
Mr.
Mr.
Moses.
Moses that has actually plotted and planned out 10 or
I
more
believe
years.
when we were discussing the bond authorization, that surplus naturally is going to go away and we're going to be running a deficit. When would that take place?
Well, actually, the budget that was passed this fiscal year uses $2.6 million of that. There'll be likely a similar figure in 2011, at which point we will probably have to stabilize the use of those funds.
Okay, thank you. And just one more question. The Arena Enterprise Fund running a deficit of $131,574. Can you give us a little bit of explanation how that figure was arrived at?
Sure. Basically, it was a cash deficit of $73,000, and then the balance was an encumbrance that's carried forward into 2010. During the 2010 budget and recap process, we've raised all those funds, so we're back on the even keel, and now with the sale of the arena, we shall no longer be seeing these deficits, so it's an end point to it.
That's great. That's good to hear. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Madam Auditor.
Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mayor,
Council Leader,
I don't have anything under communications, but I would like to suspend the rules just to ask the city manager a few questions about the E911 center roof, as well as to ask if we could have a report on this particular issue, if I could suspend the rules. Just
Motion to suspend the rules by Counsel Rita Mercer, seconded by Counsel Broderick. All in
Thank you.
favor, signify by saying aye. The suspensions are in order.
Yes, thank you,
Counsel
Mr.
Mercer.
Mayor. Some time ago, we had, not very long ago, we had an open house, with the E911 Center, and we were very proud of all the accomplishments there in the beautiful facility, and it is my understanding that the roof is leaking, and I know that we bonded $2 million or that amount to see what was going on, and I know that we learned at that grand opening that a lot of the work was done by in-house, our own city workers. So I have a few questions, Mr. Manager, through you to the mayor, to you. do we have any idea as to who did the roof? Was it a private company or was it in-house? Because it's my understanding it was a private company that came along and only did half the roof. So number one, I'd like to know, is it the half that was not done that was leaking? Why would we do just half a roof? I mean, there's many questions. I'd like to know if we could get a full report on that. Is if it was done by a private company, why was it not done by our city workers? Because we do have roofers. If that is true as well, and a private company did it, then do they have insurance where they could come back and repair if it were the portion that they did? So let's get some understanding as to that. What created this roof to leak and things like that?
Council, if the manager brings you a report,
Yes, if you know any answers.
the next council meeting will be January 5th.
So next year you can bring in the
Get that to-
report.
get
That'll
that to
be
you.
fine.
If I could, Mr. Mayor, just very briefly, I think a full report is the best route, but I will say that some work was done on that roof as part of the scope of services that the DPW determined was needed for that project. There wasn't money set aside for the entire roof. It was just a portion of it that was being repaired. That was a decision made to live within the budget that we had. That roof is also scheduled to be replaced under the Amoresco project, the performance contracting, because that's an energy issue, related issue, as well as being just a roof for the building. And what happened is that the roof work that was done, there's two levels of roof there, and the water has found its way to get underneath that roof. So there's a short-term fix that's being put in place, and there's a longer-term solution through the Amoresco project. But I think the important thing to note is that it's being taken care of, and I will get you more full report
Okay,
in January.
thank you.
Okay. All set, Council? While we're under the suspension of the rules, I would like to take it out of order, the subcommittee report, and I'd like to recognize Councilor Kevin Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate council allowing me to do this, as I have a prior engagement with my daughter that I cannot miss. This evening, we had a subcommittee meeting for the Personnel Subcommittee to continue and finish the evaluation of the city manager. The manager gave us a in-depth PowerPoint presentation that was very informative, and Mr. Manager, I don't know if this is going to be online for people, or if it is on. Okay, for people at home that want to take a look, this is online. And essentially, he ran through the last 2 to 3 years. It's been a couple of years since we've had an evaluation. The goals and essentially the accomplishments, and the entire council was here for the evaluation, and everybody did evaluate the manager. Some people evaluated in writing for the first time, and I commend you for that. And essentially, in a nutshell, the manager was, I believe, reviewed by everybody as commendable or slightly above. And points of that were pointed out with the financial preparation and the way you've handled the finances, Mr. Manager, and preparing us for what is upon us now, and everybody looks forward to continuing to work in the same manner, with hopefully some slight improvement in communication. I think that was the only area that was mentioned for improvement. Mentioned the good with the bad. Essentially, you were evaluated at commendable and slightly better by the entire council individually, and that is a report of progress.
Councilor Elliott?
I had a question for the solicitor. So according to the contract, and I don't have the contract in front of me, once the manager is rated, and there is, I know in the past this is how it worked, there was some stipulation in the contract, whether it was a cost of living, whether it was a grade or step increases. What are the terms? I'm presuming because we haven't evaluated them in 3 years, that language or that option's not in this contract. Is that correct? I mean, if you received a commendable grading, what does that mean from here on out?
The language in the manager's contract relates back to the salary ordinance, and in the
Right.
In this case,
Technical difficulty.
in this instance, the salary increase, is my understanding, is not coming into play
Okay.
again. But it is something that I think that the council could and should be looking at in terms of coming up with language that does not necessarily have to tie us back to an ordinance. The way the manager's contract, any manager's contract is set up, the terms of those contracts prevail over anything else, including our local ordinances. In this case, we have sort of a hybrid, and I think going down the road, it may make more sense for the council to at least look at it and decide to potentially have all the vital terms contained in one document, as opposed to the contract as well as an ordinance.
Okay. So where do we go? And this is kind of a different situation from other contracts. I mean, there's 9 members here. Well, and your contract doesn't expire till August of next year. Is that right, Mr.
That's
Manager?
correct. That's correct.
Okay. So where do we go from here? I mean, it's
Well, the evaluation has been completed.
correct.
Again, it really doesn't necessarily become an issue right now because,
Because the contract doesn't expire until next August. So it's more just an evaluation.
well, I thought was your question relating to the triggers of salary increases?
Or, I just wanted a clarification. I know there's no salary increase, but
Right.
I know that there was some provision that, as you said, there was a hybrid
Sort of a hybrid.
of sort.
The contract speaks to annual goals, and it also speaks
Okay.
it also harkens back to the salary ordinance that prior managers who didn't have a contract operated under in terms of the performance evaluation of the manager and having to score a particular, at a particular level in order to then trigger a salary increase, which in this case, if it were something that were being considered, it was met, but it's
So moving forward, when the manager was hired 3 years ago, he negotiated with you. I think, did the council designate the city solicitor as the person to
right. I worked in conjunction
negotiate, or
with
is it the chairman
the
of
mayor.
personnel? Okay,
I worked in conjunction with the mayor at the time, who was Councilor Martin.
okay. And I know we have plenty of time between now and then, but is the same precedent going to take place? Manager will bring forward whatever terms he's looking for through you or the mayor, or how will that work?
Actually, there's some, it potentially could work in the same way, although there's some other issues that I would want to discuss in a more appropriate setting with the council, in terms of how best to effectuate, in the event that there were actual negotiations versus, say, a contract extension. In other words, last time when I did it, we went through a process. We had a different city manager that was here. Under the state ethics laws, Chapter 268A, I received a waiver from the manager, which is filed on file with the city.
And essentially, because you work for the manager, how can you be?
But things have changed because
Right.
I now would be working for the very individual.
Okay.
So,
All right, well,
Those are
I know
things
that's a
that-
bridge that we'll cross in the future, but I just wanted to ask some questions.
Mhm.
Thank you.
The chair would like to recognize Manager Lynch.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just, I'll be very brief, particularly if there are no other councilors that will be speaking at this particular point. I appreciate the feedback, though, that I received from each of the councilors during the subcommittee meeting and the evaluation. I think we've, as a group, as a city council, as an administration, with the staff that we have, the department heads and the employees, I think we have accomplished a great deal. I do appreciate the feedback, the kind words, as well as the suggestions for improvements, and I hope to make those improvements. There is considerable more work to be done here in the city, and it is going to be some very challenging times. And I look forward to working with the council and on those. And I anticipate in January doing pretty much following up on the presentation I made tonight to come forward to the council with some goals that we should be looking at, that I believe we should be looking at moving forward. But for tonight, I do want to thank the council for their feedback and their support over these past 3+ years, and particularly over the past 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. We are now going to go into the public hearing. And the first docket on the...
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Excuse me, I hate to interrupt you. Could I do the motion that I have on?
Oh,
Just while we're out, we still have a
we'll take that under the suspension of the rules.
suspension, yes, excuse me, thank you. Oh, do you need to read it?
Motion by Councilor Broderick, request manager report on the methodology used in the 2010 property evaluation and past methodologies. Seconded by Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure everybody here has gotten calls as well as I did for whether it's residential or commercial. I think there's a lot of questions. It's a very difficult or complicated process. And I know in the past what we've done is we've asked for a report on it and set up some type of subcommittee meeting and ask the assessor's office to come in and invite anybody that's interested to come down and ask questions and get information out to people. I think that's the key here, is so people are informed. And so, Mr. Manager, I asked for a report so that hopefully we can get that report and then get that out to people, and then maybe set up a subcommittee meeting so that people again come in and have informed questions, hopefully, and hopefully maybe not resolve things, but at least people have a better understanding of the process and how where we are and how we got there, and maybe a little bit of the history of it and how things everything seems to be cyclical, and so that's the nature of the motion. And before I finish, I'd just like to I have to head out. I just want to thank Councilor Armin Mercy and Councilor Michael Lindsay for their service. It's been a pleasure. I know that I will see you both in the community as you have participated in before you came on board as a councilor, and you will continue to. And thank you, and Mr. Mayor, thank you for your tireless work as the mayor, and I wish everybody a happy holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a person registered to speak on this motion, James Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan, you have 5 minutes or less, and you have to be germane to this subject.
It will not be less, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
The fact is that I have put together some figures with respect to the budget and respect to the tax rate and respect to the valuations. And I would like to say, by the way, before we start, that the smartest individual in this room is Mike Lindsay. He chose not to run for the city council. The luckiest guy in the room probably is Armin Mercier and Paul Bollé, who both worked very hard to get elected, and they were fortunate not to get elected. Because the problems with this city, the financial problems, are very bad. Let me just read you this little information. Lowell's financial condition in the current fiscal year. The recent article that appeared in the Lowell Sun on December the 10th, 2009, appears to be written to minimize the shock as the taxpayers and citizens and the business community of the city become aware of the serious financial problems facing them as a result of the current municipal budget. The headline reads, Lowell taxes up 4.5%. It depends on how you view the financial statistics and how they impact on each segment of the community. Let's look at the residential and commercial and industrial values in the city for the last year and this year. Residential in 2009 was $11.68. 2010, the current year, it's now $13.27. It went up $1.59. Commercial was $23.76, and it went up to $27.46. It went up $3.70 per thousand valuation. The same thing with commercial. In other words, the residential tax rate increased by $1.59 per $1,000 worth of residential value. The residential rate increased 15%. The industrial and commercial rate increased by $3.70 per $1,000, and it increased by 11%. The residential rate did not increase by 2.5%, but 6 times that. The industrial tax rate did not increase by 2.5%, but 4.5 times 2.5%. These rates certainly do not enhance the ability of the city to encourage economic development. In the last 2 years, the city has lost $1.2 billion worth of property values. That's $1,200 million worth of property values. That's everybody's property. The business community, the residential community, the people in this room. That value went down by $1,200 million. It makes no financial sense to continue to increase budgetary appropriations as if these sources of revenues had not been lost. The Lowell Sun's article properly states that the average commercial property owner, one with property valued at $397,385, will be paying $1,364.83, 14.4% more in taxes in the coming year than they paid in the previous year. And that the average commercial tax rate, commercial tax bill was $10,803.73. Finally, the average industrial property owner can expect an 11% increase in his tax bill, increasing it by $2,205 to $22,309. These figures certainly will not encourage commercial or industrial developers to build in Lowell. Our policies encouraging industrial and commercial properties such as mills and transforming them into condominiums certainly is not encouraging a balanced tax rate. In attempting to balance the 2010 municipal budget, the city had to increase the budget by $500,000 to cover legal claims against the city's law department budget. The city auditor said the city's free cash amount, which was $30,000 in fiscal 2009, has yet to be certified by the state, but is anticipated this year to be a relatively small negative number. She confirmed that this evening. There is $2.3 million in the overlay account, but there are $2.6 million in pending claims against the city. In addition, the administration had to appropriate an additional $750,000 for school department unemployment cost, which was not included in the original budget. For the city manager to suggest that decreasing values as far as the city's financial condition is not a concern, I disagree. The loss of the valuation of the past 2 years would reflect in a loss of potential revenue of $12 million. If we encourage economic development to increase our tax base, then certainly the loss of this magnitude should be a major concern, and the council should be alerted to the problem. The problems for fiscal 2011, which is the next year's budget, will be more serious. I do not foresee any substantial increase in new revenue from any source, and since the city has no financial reserves to fall back on, it will probably require more reductions in essential city services and additional employees laid off. We must stop pretending that the city is in a sound financial condition. All of the surrounding towns are substantially better than Lowell, and all have better bond ratings. The city manager indicated that he was concerned that any loss more of revenue would result in bond problems. Our bond rating is probably one step above junk bonds. All the surrounding cities and towns, from Chelmsford to Tewksbury to Tingsboro to Billerica, all of them have free cash surpluses, and they have stabilization funds in the millions. I can read them out to you individually, but there's no need to. Go to the Department of Revenue and get the figures, Mr. Manager and Mr. Moses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. We're now going to go into the public hearing portion of the budget, of the meeting, of the agenda. The first docket on the public hearing, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances for the City of Lowell, Massachusetts, the code with respect to Chapter 150 thereof entitled Fees. Anyone wishing to come to the podium to speak in favor? To speak in favor? To speak in favor? That portion of the public hearing is closed. Those wishing to come to the podium to speak in opposition. In opposition, opposition, opposition. There is no opposition. The public hearing is closed. What is the wish of the body? Move for approval by Counsel Milonazo, seconded by Counsel Rita Mercier. Any discussion? Counsel Elliott.
Mr. Manager, I know this was on last week. Can you explain why we're increasing just a few select fees?
This is in large part due to the work we've been doing in the Inspectional Services Department to codify the fees that should be being charged that we've had some issues with in the past. So it's basically putting in place for lack of a better term, some sort of management improvement changes that would assist in that department.
Okay, thank you.
Counsel Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. What we have before us here are penalties from double to triple for work that was started without a permit.
That's right.
Personally, I think good people that try to obey the law go out and get permits, as we normally have to do. We don't want to do it, but we have to do it. This is the law, and we do that. Having said that, we're fining people that didn't abide by the law, because it's all right that they want to add on to their property, but they should pay like everybody else has to pay. So I do support this, but here's my concern. Every so many years, I think every 12 years, we have like a relist and remeasure. It takes like about 6 years to circle the whole city to get an evaluation. And at that time, we find properties that have added on that don't fit the pattern or the footprint of what we had on file. And lo and behold, we see that there's an added this and an added room and an added this. And lo and behold, they haven't paid the proper permit for that. Do we ever go and find these people when we find such a thing happening? I mean, I think they get away with it long enough.
Well, I can't say that I'm aware of any time we've ever fined people for that. I think that's a good point. What we do is we pick up the additional value.
That's right. We pick up the additional value. How long has it been like that they got away with it?
That's right. That's right. And in some cases, it isn't necessarily the owner who was the owner of record when the work was done, because you're correct. It takes 9 years for us to go through the entire city to do the revaluation. We're required to do it every 10 years. So we do a certain amount each year and then we start all over again. And very frankly, that's how we pick up some of our new growth each year, is we suddenly find out someone has put on a porch and they didn't pull a building permit. It's incumbent upon people that are doing work to pull the necessary permit. It's also, I don't want to have neighbors ratting out neighbors necessarily, but it's incumbent upon people, if they see work taking place that isn't properly permitted, to give us a call so that we can get out there and make sure, because there's a public safety issue there too. It isn't just a fee issue, a money issue. It's also a matter of public safety, so that we can make sure that the work is being done properly, to code, and is safe for the people that live there now as well as the people that live there in the future.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? I just want to indicate that the general public aren't going to be paying for these increased fees. It's the contractor that will be paying for these fees if they don't exercise that permit process. With that said, roll call.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick? Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça?
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
The next docket on the public hearing agenda, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 227, Article 2, thereof, entitled Vacant and Foreclosing Properties. Those wishing to come to the podium and speak in favor, to speak in favor. In favor? In favor. That portion of the public hearing is closed. Those wishing to come to the podium to speak in opposition? In opposition? Opposition? There is no opposition. The public hearing is closed. Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager or the solicitor. Under A, where it talks about the property which is subject to the foreclosure is occupied as a residential property. Does that necessarily mean that the property has to be owner occupied, or could it be an investment property? For instance, a 1 to 4 family that is residential, but not necessarily owner occupied. It does say in the next paragraph that the property owner has to request a waiver in writing, but does it necessarily have to be an owner occupied property?
Madam Solicitor?
Also in the last section here, in the event that the property, which is the subject of the foreclosure proceeding, is vacant at the initiation of the foreclosure is defined herein, or the property has become lender-owned.
Okay.
As a result of the foreclosure proceeding, the posting requirements contained herein shall not be waived by the
Right.
building commissioner.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Good question. Any other questions pertaining to this ordinance? If none, roll call.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick, Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Mendoza.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
The next and last item on the public hearing docket is National Grid to place 1 pole on Morton Street. Those wishing to speak in favor, please come to the podium.
Good evening, David Boucher, Senior Design Technician from National Grid, 1101 Turnpike Street, North Andover. There was a state project on the bridge on Morton Street, and we proceeded to move our equipment so that the project could be done. With the project closing and us putting our equipment back into the place where it used to be, we're asking the city of Lowell for a new pole at the corner where Stratham and Morton Streets meet. The reason for the new pole is in evaluating the engineering that's out there. We have a guy wire that goes into one of the trees right at that intersection that supports our line, or did support our line that went over the bridge. The proper way to do it is to place a stub pole to support the line at that corner. And that's what we're asking for tonight. And if the city of Lowell sees it well, we'll be able to place that new pole there.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to come to the podium to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? That portion of the public hearing is closed. Those wishing to come to the podium to speak in opposition? 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 There is no opposition. The public hearing is closed. Referred to the wire inspector by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Mendoza. All in favor signify by saying aye. And before you leave the podium, sir, I personally want to thank National Grid, Verizon, Comcast, everyone who is working tirelessly to remove the double poles in the city. And I'm looking forward to seeing them all gone.
We're willing to work with the city, and I'm glad to see that the city's seeing some good stuff happening.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
And are you going to vote on it right now?
We're going to the wire inspector.
You referred
Oh, it gets
to the wire
referred to, and then, okay. Well, thank you, and happy holidays.
You
Merry
should be
Christmas.
all set. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Moving on with the agenda. Vote authorizing the city manager into a license agreement with the law office of Walter T. Radulski to encroach upon the city of Lowell property at 112 Middle Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. Be it voted by the city council of the city of Lowell as follows. The city manager hereby authorized to enter a license agreement with the law office of Walter T. Radulski to encroach upon the city of Lowell property at 112 Middle Street for an overhanging sign to the extent of and more particularly described in Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part of this license agreement. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilor Lindsay. All in favor of waiving the full reading signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading is waived. Second reading by title. Authorizing the city manager to enter a license agreement with the law office of Walter T. Radulski to encroach upon the city of Lowell property at 112 Middle Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. Any questions, any debate on this particular issue? If none, roll call.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick, Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Mendoza.
Yes.
Counselor Lenzi?
Yes.
Counselor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
Moving on with petitions, are there any more subcommittee reports? Okay. Moving on with the petitions, the flood law officers for alternative house request the city to accept Bernier Street extension. Refer that to the manager and law department by Council Milonazo, seconded by Council Martin. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Also, the flood law officers of Swan Street Development request to extend the TSF Zone 61 Bigelow and 160.1 Swan Street. Refer that to the law department by Council Elliott, seconded by Council Lindsay. All in favor, signify by saying aye. And we have one motion on the agenda that has to be heard by Council Rita Mercier, request 60-day trial, handicap sign, 11 Abbott Street, seconded by Councilor Arman Mercier. On the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, that everyone received in their packet a copy of the necessary paperwork and the proof that such a placard exists. The motion speaks for itself. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions on that motion? If none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed, the motion carries. And I would request a suspension of the rules. I'd like to bring in two motions that I'd like you just to clean up. They were in the mayor's office. I should have filed the motions, but so moved by Council Rita Mercier, second by Council Milonazo. Any discussion on the suspension of the rules? All in favor of the suspension signify by saying aye. Suspensions are in order. The first motion, and I discussed this with Manager Lynch, there's a parking lot on 3rd Street, a constituent requesting lighting for said parking lot, and I would like to refer that motion to the manager. The manager is certainly going to investigate that issue. The second motion is the Central Plaza on Church and Lawrence Street. There's a serious issue there with lack of stop signs, and I think the pictures of this will indicate the problem, and refer that to the manager as well by Council Milonazo, seconded by Council Martin. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. So those two motions pass. Thank you very much. And Mr. Manager, I'll give you all this information right here. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other discussions on the agenda this evening? Council Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this is the last meeting for two of our colleagues, and I suppose we're going to have the opportunity to speak about those folks. But before we get to that, on behalf of my colleagues on the City Council, wanted to thank you for your service as mayor. Those of us, there are a few of us here who have served as mayor, and it certainly is a demanding job. The time commitment, I think none of us realize when we go into it what's going to be involved, but I think I certainly speak for the other former mayors among the council that the rewards far exceed the demands, and I know you certainly feel that way. I think you've done a very admirable job serving the city and the residents of the city, and on behalf of my colleagues here in the City Council, I have a small token of our appreciation. I'd like to present a gift to you.
Thank you very much, and I do have a gift as well to a woman who is a tireless worker, and I knew when I was sworn in 2 years ago, she indicated, well, Bud's going to be everywhere. I won't be able to do anything. And a month went by, and I said, Council Rita Mercier, would you like to go to Florida to represent the mayor? She, would I? And she did go to Florida. She represented the city of Lowell. The astronaut that went up to the shuttle was from Lowell, and it was very exciting. And Rita Mercier, not only are you a great counselor, but you're a friend to everybody. And you do things extraordinary, and you're just an extraordinary person, and it's a pleasure to present this to you.
If I
No,
could,
you can't speak.
If I could just comment on that, it was very easy serving with you as the vice mayor because you were everywhere. I think that I could never keep up with your pace. I think the only person in this room that could do that and probably exceed the both of us would be Patrick Murphy, because he has a twin brother and you'd never know which one was there. So that would be the only difference. But thank you very much. And Mr. Mayor, you have been a credit immensely to the city. You stood up against adversity when we had flooding issues and many other things. You were quick to want to have fundraisers to get people out of this dilemma. You have been tirelessly of a worker for the people of this great city, and you made us all very, very proud. You're quite a gentleman, and we'll miss you as mayor, but I know that whoever takes your place will step up to the plate as well. But congratulations, you are a credit to the city. Thank you.
Councilor. Thank you. Thank you very much. There were many facets of the job being the mayor, and you're involved in almost every aspect of government. And there are people who are extremely humble, and they never ever want to know what they're doing to help people. But I know. And last year, the mayor's reception was at the senior center, and that was the bad ice storm that we encountered. And we had planned on putting on a light lunch, but this man gave all the people in attendance a hot turkey dinner, all the fixings, and I mean, just incredible. And the work that he has done with State Representative Tom Golan to help out the children in the Pawtuckaville, Centerville neighborhood. And I could go on and on and on about the great work that this man does. And he's done great work as a city councilor for the past 2 years. And Michael, sad to see you go, but you have chosen to go into public life again and pay attention to your business. But I know that any one of us, if we called you, you'd be there to help. Michael Lindsay, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for those kind words. And when I think of the word ubiquitous, I see you, and I see Councilor Mercier's picture next to the word in the dictionary. And you've been everywhere. And these last 2 years have been a great personal experience for me, and just to be part of this council and part of the administration and work with the administration and be part of all the things that we've seen and talked about tonight. It was a very difficult decision not to run, but especially after 2 years when you kind of get in that comfort zone and then you know a little bit about everything that's going on. But I did just want to touch on a few things that meant a lot to me over the past 2 years. We made our announcement to run for city council on the steps of the Songus Arena. And we mentioned that tonight that we're going to save $500,000, and I think that's very conservative without guessing at the amount of it would cost for capital improvements down the line and things. So it's very satisfying to be part of a council and an administration that transferred the ownership of the Songus Arena to the university to benefit the city and all the parties involved. I'm glad that I changed my vote on the creative economy, as I understand it better the last couple of years and see the results. And plus it beats that name tag, the forces of evil that were labeled after the first vote. But that was a good decision and a good vote. I always will remember the vote for the dog park, and I think City Clerk Johnson will remember the roof vote, and maybe the only one to date. We survived the financial crisis. I'm glad to be part of this council and proud to be here during this and take the necessary steps, the difficult steps, the hard decisions that that were made. The jam plan, I think I've been supportive from start to finish, and I wish nothing but continued success and productivity in the area. I think the early garage, there was plenty of critics, and but I wasn't one of them. And I felt all along that the garage would play a role and provide some solutions down the line as we go forward, and I think that's come to fruition. I think the real test ahead of us is the staying power of all of the new businesses that we've met in the city councils that have come into the city, and that's the real challenge going forward. It was very difficult to be part of a council and administration that laid off 48 employees in City Hall, and that was unfortunate, and things like that you remember, and they don't go away. I hope that the $40 million in energy improvements that we're talking about, that we are thorough in those projections. I know that some of the projections on the recycling were off by significant numbers, and we want to make sure that going forward, those projections, that we study them thoroughly before we dive into those things. The UMass Lowell, the transition to the Doubletree, I'm proud of to be a part of a council and administration that saw that move forward and bring students to the downtown and embrace our downtown. I'm glad I wasn't on the recycling trip to Worcester when the bus caught on fire. I was at LaLasha Park waiting for everybody to come back, but I know that that was a good thing, and that going forward that's going to benefit the city and be a cost-saving measure. I've learned more about the flashboards and the pins on the Merrimack River than I'd ever want to know prior to this. And it's been some great, by Mr. Boulay, presentations here that showed us exactly how these things are supposed to work and what they were supposed to be and where they were coming up short. As the administration, we got to evaluate the manager tonight, the highlight of my 2 years, and Kevin said commendable. I said, no, I said dependable. He's been here most of the time, Kevin. I didn't say commendable. But I congratulate the manager on his evaluation, his positive evaluation. And to the new counselors, I congratulate them. And after reading the chat column, the more intellectual counselors I like to refer them as. But that's okay. Next Tuesday night, when I'm not here in the chambers, I'll be in night school. So, I embrace the capital plan. The Duck Island wastewater treatment plant, if it weren't for Mike Stewart and Mark Young, I never would have known what an Archimedes screw is. And these are just things you become familiar with when I talk about knowing a little about everything. The every other week meetings, I guess that'll go down in history. It worked for a period of time. We've reversed it. I hope there's not going to be a vote to cancel any of these last two meetings, because I won't be able to vote for the 22nd and the 29th. That would be contradict everything that I stood for those every other week meetings. And again, I state that that was not a selfish, and maybe I'll never be understood for that, but it's not a selfish vote. That was for the benefit of the administration to prepare themselves for the every week meetings, which is a difficult task, and there's a lot to do. And again, I think it was a good motion, but we'll let that lie as it may be. Real estate taxes, I finally learned the meaning of functional obsolescence, words that came up through the different presentations, and they don't go away. And I can use that term all the time now during trivia contests and things like that. The word germane has come up 13 times in the council chambers in 2 weeks, and I was able to look that one and Google that one and find out what that meant. But the 10-year plan to end homelessness, and I embrace that, and moving forward, hope to be a part of it as I have been in the past, and just a great thing, another great thing that the city's doing and moving forward. The highlight, the Lowell Plan breakfast was a highlight this year, and the presenter, I forget his name, but all about the one-way streets in downtown, and so much knowledge comes out of just attending a breakfast, and you see how things work and operate. I want to thank the mayor for just a superlative job. You're everywhere, standing on the stage during the City of Lights parade, and listening to you sing and bring smiles to the faces of the kids and the people of the community is a great honor. I want to thank our Congresswoman, Nikki Songas, for all that she does for the city, and I want to thank the delegation, Senator Steve Pangiatakis, my good friends Tommy Golden, my cousin David Nangle, and Kevin Murphy. They do great things for us. They continue to deliver, and we have a terrific representation in Boston. Jimmy Sullivan, I won't miss walking into Mount Pleasant and saying, "Jim, could you explain that again to me in layman's terms?" But I learned a lot from talking about the budgets and the numbers, and in the end, understand them better and how they work and what they mean. I'm not going away. I still represent Greater Lowell Technical High School and the kids of our community and our district, and I look forward to this time off, and it was with a little melancholy that I say that. And lastly, I just want to remember my friend Andy St. Onge when I started here on the council, and when Andy passed away on Labor Day weekend last year, there was a big void in our special events department. And LZ Nunn and Chris Samaras have done a terrific job in filling that void and picking up the slack for all of the good things that Andy did and all the creativity that he brought to the city. So I thank my colleagues. I thank my family and my wife for putting up with me for 2 years during this time, and I want to say it's been a great experience, and I'm going to miss it. And I thank you all.
Thank you, Michael. Michael, you're a credit to your family, to your business, Lindsay's Catering. You're a credit to the Greater Lowell Technical Vocational School, and you're a credit to this elected board. And we want to wish you the best of luck, good health, and Godspeed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
And now the chair would like to recognize an elected public servant who has given over half of his life to helping people. He was a former mayor, and a great one, a man of reason, a man who brings forward great advice, a man who we all would listen to. And that man will be moving on. And Councilor Armin Mercier, all of us are saddened by the fact you won't be here in January, but you'll still be here whenever we need you, a phone call away. I know the wisdom you possess and the direction you'd like to see the city go into. And it's a great pleasure to bring forward former Mayor, Councilor Armin Mercier, to this podium so he can address the viewing audience at home and the friends and relatives who are in this great council chambers. Councilor Armin Mercier.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn from somebody.
Second.
Seriously, I just want to correct former manager Jim Sullivan, who said that I was a lucky person because I didn't get reelected. He's half right. I'm a lucky person because I did get elected for 12 years and had the opportunity to serve the city. That, to me, was luck. Losing the election was not luck. and I'm really saddened about it. I would like to take this opportunity, and I will be brief, to thank the many, many people in this city who honored me with their support and their vote and elected me to the city council for 12 years. 12 years of people who came to the voting polls and voted for me and gave me the encouragement I needed to continue, because it's a passion that I really, really enjoyed, and it's one that I will never forget. The people who supported me, some are here this evening, and to them I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart. It's something that I really appreciate and will never forget. General MacArthur, I think when he addressed the Congress, said something one time. He said that old soldiers never die, they just fade away. I don't know about this old soldier thing, but I do know this: I do not intend to fade away. I intend to stay active. I intend to stay, involved in the community, and particularly as it relates to the city council and the city administration. So I will not be fading away. The very fact that the people of Lowell elected me to the city council for 12 years also gave me another honor. Because of that action, I want to commend and thank the previous city council and this city council for having me elected the mayor of the city of Lowell, an honor that I will cherish for the rest of my life. My public service spans a number of years, and I've received a number of accolades. I was listed in the Congressional Record. I had a building named after me while I was still alive. Commendations from a couple of governors and mayors. But all of it pales in view of the fact that I became mayor of this great city, an honor that I will cherish and feel is the greatest honor that I've ever received. And I really want to thank my council colleagues for giving me that honor, and also the people who voted for me so that I had the opportunity to receive that honor. So to all of them, thank you very much. In 1997, after 2 years of hiatus from public service, I had been on the Housing Authority and also the Preservation Commission National Park. I decided that I still had some energy and some expertise to bring forward, and decided to be a candidate for the Lowell City Council. And people asked me, why would I do that? And it was very simple. My motto at the time was, because I love Lowell, I wanted to continue to contribute to help the city in some capacity, and that's why I ran. I remember standing in front of the Lawrence Manufacturing Company, building, dilapidated, empty, fire-ridden, and I remember saying to the people when I announced my candidacy that my expertise and my background would suggest that I could help. And I got elected that year, the first time out, and then appointed to the Reuse Committee, chaired by Senator Panagiotakis, Kevin Murphy, the delegation, the chairman of the UMass Lowell, Dr. Hogan, and some employees from the city. And we got together and decided that there was a way to have an adaptable reuse plan in theory for that building. And needless to say, one just needs to walk by it and see one of the finest condominium projects in the city of Lowell, based on the fact that we worked very hard as a group to bring that about. It's a tax revenue source, and it's one of the things that I really am very proud of having ran on back there in 1997. There are a litany of things that I would like to spell out about my tenure as a city councilor, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave that to the historians. The one thing in particular is when I was mayor and saw that our cultural society wasn't the way it should be, I formed a task force, and needless to say, they worked very, very hard to bring culture to the community in an engine type of thing, as it was a revenue engine for the city of Lowell, and I was very proud of having that as one of my ideas as a mayor. And to this day, cool and the cultural activity is all generated from that task force that I chaired back then, and I'm very proud of having been labeled by one of the members of that as the cultural mayor. A little kid from Salem Street became a cultural mayor. That's just unheard of, and it's only in Lowell where something like this could happen. Recently, of course, as I exit these hallowed chambers, I'm very proud of the fact that I participated along with Councilor Lindsay and the rest of the colleagues for the arena being transferred to UMass Lowell. I think that's an accomplishment that will go a long way to help the city of Lowell and the citizens as they fight what is going to be a very tough time. To the new city council, both elect and retainees, I want to say this. You have some tough days ahead of you, but not tougher than any others that came before us as far as the conditions as the city is concerned. You have a daunting task, but there's no doubt in my mind that the talent that exists on this council, both those that are coming back and those that have just been elected, will rise to the occasion as all other councils did in the past when we were faced with some dire consequences. I can remember the council that had to oversee the city of Lowell being into receivership, and they rose to the task also. And there's no doubt in my mind that this city council will rise to the task and do a great job. As far as I'm concerned, I'm very grateful, very appreciative of having the opportunity to serve this city as a councilor. I had an awful lot of positions in my public life as far as municipal services are concerned and public service is concerned, but one that I've enjoyed the most has been a member of the city council. I'm going to miss it. There's no doubt in my mind it's going to be something that I'll be missing because I enjoyed it tremendously. But I respect the votes of the people, and as far as I'm concerned, they did what they thought was best for the city of Lowell, and I'll abide by that, but I do not intend to fade away. I intend to be active, to participate in what is going on in our city because I really love the city, and I really think that I still have a lot more to contribute, although not elected, but I'll be around in the event that there's a need for my services. Again, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank an awful lot of people, but more specifically my family that really stuck by me during the tough times of my position as a public servant. They're here this evening. They were here in 1997, and they've been there all along, and I just want to say to them, thank you very much for your support and your help. I really appreciate it. Without my friends and my relatives supporting me, I don't think I could have gone through what I've been through. And so for that, I'm very appreciative. And thank you. To the newly elected city councilors, I want to wish them the very best of luck. And if there's anything I can do for them, they just need to call me at any time. I think they have a tough task ahead of them, but I'm sure they'll rise to that occasion, as I said before. Again, I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, and thank you very much for your support in the past, and I'm looking forward to be participating in some capacity in the future. Again, thank you very much for your help.
Council Alma Mercia, the mayor, and your colleagues, and the people of this great city wish you the best, in good health, and Godspeed, and it's a two-way street. Anytime we can help you, you just pick up the phone as well, okay? God bless you. If I may, I just briefly like to recognize the fact it's been a tremendous honor to be mayor of this great city over the past 2 years. I would like to thank this council for your support and direction through one of the worst fiscal crises this city or state has experienced since the Great Depression. Working with Manager Lynch and his administration, we didn't roll over and die. We rolled up our sleeves and went to work. It hasn't been all gloom and doom. Over the past 2 years, over 25 new businesses have located in Lowell investing over $150 million. It was $100 million until we had phase one of the groundbreaking ceremony for Hamilton Canal. That was $57 million alone with phase one. The Lowell Community Health Center expansion on Jackson Street. We all received the news. They're receiving a $10 million grant to expand. And when we built the early garage, we received criticism. The garage would never be full. Now people are looking for a place to park. And with the expansion of the Lowell Community Health Center, the new courthouse, and all the great things are going to happen there, it's going to revitalize and expand not only the downtown, but the city as well. We built a new school in the Highlands. The old Maury School served the public well, but they didn't have a cafeteria, they didn't have a gymnasium, they didn't have locker rooms or a cafeteria. This new school has all of those, and those children and the parents are going to benefit immensely. We have the controlled sewer overflow being implemented in our city. If you see some of the streets being excavated with new sewer lines going in, it's a court decree from EPA. We have to do that. But we did it, and we took out a bond for $65 million. And even though we do have a fiscal crisis, we have contractors working out there every single day, alleviating flooding in people's homes and separating the storm drains from the sewer lines. We also took a vote to bond $35 million to improve the waste treatment plant and the levee along the Merrimack River and the pump station. We also, through debates after one another, we did sign a 10-year lease contract with the Spinners for $1.8 million, a 10-year lease, and everyone was concerned and worried. The Boston Single A affiliate, they're going to move. But I think calmer heads prevailed with Manager Lynch in negotiating a 10-year lease, and I think the city benefited, so didn't the Spinners. The city is finally transferring the Tsongas Arena over to UMass Lowell, a transfer that will benefit both the city and the university. And when this new council was sworn in 2 years ago, that was the first thing on the agenda. Mr. Manager, we have to take this burden off the taxpayers' backs. Mr. Manager, I applaud you and this council for doing that, making that happen. In closing, I would like to thank Chancellor Marty Meehan of UMass Lowell and President Carol Cowan for being so supportive of our city, Congresswoman Nikki Tsongas for her dedication and tireless efforts on behalf of the 5th Congressional District, our Lowell delegation for always being there for every single project we ever brought forward. How can you find 4 more dedicated elected officials than Senator Panagiotakis, to State Representative David Nangle, State Representative Tom Golan, and State Representative Kevin Murphy? I don't know where you could find them, but they've always been there for this district and this city. I want to thank the city employees for their dedication. I'm in this building 5 days a week, and the city employees work hard, whether they're at the DPW, Park and Recreation, wastewater, water utility, they're in an office, whatever, they work hard. They're very tireless workers. If you go up to the DPW facility on Middlesex Street, you will certainly see what I mean. The 2 mechanics trying to keep some old vehicles on the road. I would like to thank Diane Banowski. I don't know what any mayor could do without her dedication and professionalism. She dots the I, crosses the T, and whether I had a meeting with the governor, or Mayor Menino in Boston, or no matter who it was, she had all the information for me. When I left that office, I knew exactly where I was going and what I was going to say and do. So Diane, thank you for your extreme dedication and your professionalism. I'd like to thank Richard Johnson, our city clerk. I visited Richard Johnson not just once a week, sometimes 3 times a week, to keep abreast of the agenda, to make sure I was informed on everything that was happening. And even when I wasn't informed and I was almost going to make a mistake, you couldn't see this, but he kicked me under the table and, hey, don't forget to do this. But Richard Johnson, thank you. You're just a class guy. And Mr. Manager, to you and all the department heads, the auditor, our solicitor, we spent many days and nights going over different issues with the school department on the city side, and I don't know of any auditor or any solicitor or the law department that is best equipped in any city, and please give them a round of applause for their dedication. As Council Armor Mercy indicated to the new councilors-elect, feel free to lean on my shoulder. Feel free to ask for advice, because 22 years ago, I did that, and someone was there for me, and I'll be there for you, okay? We have a large city to run, and we have an immense responsibility to answer the needs of the people we serve. Last but not least, my wife never knew when I left the house in the morning when I was coming home at night. And when I did come home, dinner was always ready, was always hot, and she said, "How was your day?" So to my loving wife, Diana, thank you for being so understanding and being married to a public servant. I've said this many times wherever I go. What makes the city so unique? It's not the bricks and the mortar. It's not the Merrimack River or the playgrounds. It's the people. The people that we serve. The people who make a difference every single day that we serve. So with that said, I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah to the Jewish community, and a happy, healthy, prosperous New Year. Thank you. Thank you. Before we adjourn, we do have some business to attend to. And as we well know, December 22nd is 3 days from Christmas. December 29th is 3 days from the New Year. And if someone needs a special meeting, we can always make that happen. But I would entertain a motion by Councilor Mike Lindsay to cancel the 22nd and 29th meeting, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercia. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That's a vote. So the 22nd meeting and the 29th meeting will be canceled. And we once again wish everyone a great holidays. And with that said, I'll entertain a motion by Councilor Armand Mercia, seconded by Councilor Mike Lindsay, to adjourn. Thank you and good night.